What I wouldn't give to be stuck in an endless time loop with Chloe Bennett. God damn! So, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has just dropped its 9th episode, and there's a lot to talk about. Throughout this video, we'll be going through the ins and outs of it, as well as everything that you need to know about the ending. Obviously, there will be heavy spoilers here, so if you don't want anything ruined, then I recommend that you turn off now. Please drop a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for breakdowns on the show week by week. As always, this is the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host, Definition. Now let's get into the breakdown. Okay, so episode 9 is actually Elizabeth Henstridges' directorial debut. The actor plays Simmons in the show, but this time she stepped behind the camera to give one of the funnest episodes in S.H.I.E.L.D. history. We join Daisy as she wakes up inside the healing chamber on board the Zephyr with Sousa at her side. It seems like everything's gonna be okay, but she quickly realizes that she's been living the same moments over and over again. Messing with time travel has overloaded the time drive, and because they jumped whilst jumping, the group have become caught in a wormhole that resets the day after a certain amount of time. Daisy and Coulson must get to the bottom of what's going on and discover who's been killing all of the crew and how to fix the time drive. Now, as with most time loop stories, we replay the same moments over and over to comedic effect. However, where S.H.I.E.L.D. does stuff differently is that it also uses this opportunity to mess with several of the characters in interesting ways. Mac is blinded by a radiation flare, which destroys his eyes, and they take him to see Jemma, who opens up a drawer with medical equipment in there. Now, amongst these, we can also see some of Deke's aftershave, which is called Tattletale for men. A tattletale is of course someone who reveals secret information, and not to jump too far ahead, but I love how this episode is sort of about covering up secret information at all costs, so this is a nice little Easter egg. There's also a Rubik's Cube, which is of course something that's extremely difficult to solve. I think this might be a metaphor for the entire episode, which is sort of like a puzzle that Daisy and Coulson must figure out in order to win. A fire breaks out on the ship, and Daisy goes to stop it, which is when she sees the time drive overloading and the day resets once more. The events happen in similar fashion, with us even getting the title sequence again. With all these stylized ones we've had over the past couple of weeks, I'd actually forgotten what the original was like, so it was good seeing it play out here since this episode isn't era specific. She saves Mac, and this time instead of going to stop the fire, she visits Coulson, who is where we left him last time, recharging in the Chronicom chamber. The day resets again, and this time she rushes to him first to discover he's already aware of what's going on. He explains that she's died over 14 times, and that they've actually been through this loop at least 87. The fact that the two were in healing chambers is why they're able to remember what's going on, and thus they have consciousness of the events that are playing out. Even though he's a machine, he's slowly going mad, and I love how we get a ton of father and daughter moments between the two in this entry. So far, in my opinion, this season has kind of brushed off their surrogate relationship, and Daisy has very much been relegated to a teammate rather than the main protagonist that she used to be. However, this episode puts the focus back on her, and it's great to see her actually getting some agency beyond wanting to kill absolutely everybody in the past. He tells her to come back after the next reset, which inevitably happens when the time drive fires back up. She returns to Coulson and he tells her that every time that a loop happens, they go closer to the vortex and thus they're running out of time. Now you might have noticed that every time Deke mentions the distance from the wormhole, it's slightly shorter. The first time I really noticed this is when it jumps from 76 kilometers to 67, but every time he pops up on screen, the number gets less and less. Now, the reason that Daisy doesn't remember some of the loops and what happened in them is because in the ones in which she dies, her memory resets. Most of the times that we see her, she remembers what's going on simply because she's just continuing the loop and not being killed, but the times that she does die, it completely wipes the slate clean. In the next loop, she goes to the deck and proves that they're caught in one by predicting events as they happen. She then informs Deke, who goes to Simmons, to convince her to remove the memory implant from her brain. In case you've been stuck in your own time loop and don't remember, Simmons had a memory implant put in the back of her neck which blocked specific parts of her memory. This is because she knows the location of Fitz, aka the big question on everyone's lips, and if she were captured or tortured, she'd be unable to give up this information. Daisy says that if they remove the implant, they'll be able to get the information and the loop will reset, which will put things back in place, but this comes into contention and actually costs a member of the crew their life. in one of the saddest moments ever. Now, in order to prove that the loop is happening to Simmons, the latter asks her to say the first made-up word that pops into their heads. They go with phlebotomy, and this actually has a really cool meaning behind it. The full definition of the word is an impossible or imaginary device which is used to move the plot of a TV show, book or film forward. According to Google, it's science, it's magic, it's strange unknown things to science or magic. The reader does not know how phlebotomy works, and the creators hope that he or she doesn't care. So yeah, great little meta joke by the writers of the show. Simmons locks herself in a chamber and goes to remove it, but even attempting it causes her to die, which is the first death in the episode. So yeah, we're gonna need another strategy. This time Daisy goes in with her, but she dies alongside Simmons, and Enoch discovers a leak in a gas pipe. It's always the one you least suspect. Now Daisy goes through the entire spiral of loops again and gets back up to speed before going to Enoch, Deke and Simmons to question who it is that's been killing the crew. They attempt to get Yo-Yo, who can speedster it out of her neck. However, this point becomes null and void when we realise the time it would take to get her out the Quinjet. The loop will have reset. It's almost like they put the one character who could solve the entire situation in a place where they'd be unable to help. Some might say it's lazy writing, but never mind. Anyway, Daisy realises that someone has been rummaging through Simmons' drawer due to the fact that the tattletale aftershave is on the side, and thus it's tattletaling that someone is messing with them. It seems like the extraction tool has had something funny done to it, and before Daisy goes to grab it, Sousa says he will sacrifice himself so that she doesn't lose her memory. As predicted, he dies, and Daisy wakes up once more but leaves him asleep so that he doesn't have to go through that again. If you've been keeping up to date with our breakdowns, then you'll know that we've been shipping Sousa and Daisy from the start, and I love how they actually get their moment in this episode. The writers pretty much built up their romance across 6 episodes and executed it without it feeling forced or unearned, in my opinion. Here it really works, and I'm glad that Sousa finally found someone after losing out on Peggy Carter to my main man Steve Rogers. It must suck at losing a girl to someone that's been presumed dead for over 70 years, but they don't call him Sousa the loser for nothing. Yeah, they don't call him that, but you know I'm not a nice person. Now their ship is actually named Susie, which was confirmed by Henstridges. So yeah, Susie, it works, and yeah, we love you, Susie. Now mirroring this, Coulson has a real heart-to-heart with Daisy, and he says it's soul-crushing seeing everyone die over and over again. This mirrors Daisy's point of view on the situation with Coulson too, as she's had to watch her father figure die time and time again throughout the series. It's a really heartbreaking moment, and you kind of get the feeling that Coulson wishes he wasn't forced to come back over and over again and live through the same tragedies. Because he's unable to tell whether the emotions that he's going through are real or not, due to his programming, he deduces that the only other machine on board, aka Enoch, too must have programming that he's unaware of. This leads him to draw the conclusion that Enoch is the killer and that he's been doing it subconsciously to protect the secret of Fitz's location. Though he initially seems unaware, they test this theory, and even upon attempting to remove the implant, he goes into full Terminator mode and reveals that his programming means he must protect the implant at all costs. This sets off a fun scene in which they try and distract Enoch from discovering them removing the implant, and there's some absolutely hilarious moments. We also see them resting against Mac's motorbike, which did pop up earlier in the season, and they do whatever they can to distract him, even getting the whole team involved. He kicks the crap out of them, and yeah, I absolutely love this part of the episode. I'm sorry, Deke, but your death was quite funny. Now, after a heart-to-heart with Sousa, they realise they need to rally the troops together and get certain members of the team to fight Enoch in order to buy them some time. They manage to remove the implant, which causes Simmons to reveal the secret, and with her full memory back, she can recall that Enoch has an electorum displacement mechanism within him that will fix the time drive. She begins to cry and remembers all of the memories that she shut out, but before the group can ask any more questions, the time loop begins again. Now something clearly bad is going to be revealed, and Simmons even says, "What have I done?" before saying no. So it does look like something big is coming. Now personally, I believe that this might have something to do with her and Fitz's daughter. If you've been watching our videos so far, then you'll know that we theorised that Fitz will be an old man by the time we catch back up with him, as he will have gone the long way round whilst the agents travel through time. Jemma's implant is called Diana, and I think that this might actually be a clue that it's named after the daughter that the pair had, which the memory suppressant is also protecting. Diana may be with Fitz, and Jemma could be upset because she's abandoned the two to go off and do missions, which would also be heartbreaking for the character. Now, we don't know for definite, but that's what I'd lean towards at the moment, but obviously leave your theories in the comment section below. The ship jumps again, and Deke reveals that they're less than 1 kilometer from the vortex. On a dime, this episode changes from being this fun little time loop to something much more dramatic, and we watch as the group gather around Enoch to sacrifice his life. He has one last job, and they have one of the most devastating send-offs with Enoch before he dies. It sucks seeing him go, but he removes the electoral displacement mechanism without question and sacrifices himself. Enoch was willing to do what needed to be done in order to save the family that he's come to know and love, and he does it without a second's thought. Watching him slump down is devastating, and I'm not crying, you're crying. Enoch says that he never used to feel lonely when watching humans. However, since meeting the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, he's come to grow and be scared of losing them. Watching Enoch die also makes Coulson realise that he does have something worth living for, and Enoch passes away thinking of his best friend Fitz. It's a really heartfelt moment, and he also reveals that he's seen the future and knows that the team will not survive. Now, this is obviously alluding to the fact that this is the final season, and though hopefully we get that Agents of S.W.O.R.D. spin-off, you know what, even if we don't, this has been such a good send-off that I can't be mad at them for taking a step back. Also, I don't know if it's me, but did anyone think that the regulator looked a lot like an arc reactor? Anyway, the ship is saved and they escape the loop, which ends this adventure. From here we jump over to Malik, who's training Cora, aka Daisy's half-sister, and we see her breaking wine glasses on a table. Now, why this is important is because it's actually a play on an earlier scene in the series in which Daisy tested her powers. In that scene, she made music from the wine glasses, whereas Cora completely destroys them, showing the difference between the two. They then tease that they're going after Daisy, and we cut to black, which ends the episode. Now, for the next part of the video, we will be talking about the trailer for next week, so if you don't want anything ruined, then I'll recommend that you turn off now. Anyway, it looks like it's going to be a very Malik-centric entry, and it does seem that he's slowly starting to build the army that was teased in last week's entry. There's a mysterious new character in this trailer, and I think that this might actually be a younger John Garrett, aka Bill Paxton. It seems very similar to him in appearance, so it may be him or a relative, but I do hope that they tie him in some way, especially with this being the last season. Jaya Ying also comes face to face with Daisy and says something about her seems very familiar. She is of course Daisy's mother, and I kinda hope that Daisy steers her away from the dark path that she eventually goes on. It looks like there's gonna be a big showdown at Afterlife. We also get a tease of Gordon and Lee, whose eyes were burned by Cora in the last episode. I'm really hyped to see the conclusion of the arc that was started in episode 8, and it'll definitely be interesting to see what direction that the timeline goes off into. Anyway, that wraps up this video, and I have to say that this was another brilliant entry. This is probably one of my favourite episodes so far, and it delivered with everything that I was hoping for in terms of drama and comedy. Now obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on the 9th episode, so make sure you comment below and let me know. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a thumbs up, and if you missed our analysis of the other episodes, then make sure you check them out after this. Every month on the 15th we give away free Blu-rays, and all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning the MCU Infinity Saga box set is leave a like and subscribe with notifications on. If you want to support the channel and get to see content early, then please consider clicking the join button below. You can also come chat to us on our Discord server in the description, or at Heavy Spoilers on Twitter. If not, then thank you for making it till the end of this video. You've been the best, I've been Definition, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.